Hello, I chose to find a video by the speaker Menno Schutsen, which is a difficult name, and he's from the Netherlands. He is an evolutionary biologist, and he is studying how plants and animals in cities adapt to their environment. He wrote a book on this topic called Darwin Comes to Town, and how the urban jungle drives evolution in 2018. And this TED Talk details his findings on how animals, plants, and other creatures are evolving in our cities. So he began this talk by talking a little bit about how it used to be, how when he was young, he lived in a small village that was teeming with life in different ways. It was calm and quiet. There's marshes and woodland all around. And he found like finding beetles as a teenager, and he found these ant beetles, and he learned a bit about them and how they evolved to exist in like ant nests by tricking these ants with pheromones into believing that it itself is an ant, which is honestly really cool. His collection of beetles from this time is what inspired him to become interested in evolutionary biology. So he had a bunch of beetles pinned up using bug pins, and he found that fascinating, which personally I can agree with him on that one. He spoke about how this his field specifically evolutionary biology tends to focus on creatures of the past, stuff that's gone past, like how the wolf became the dog and other such ideas that have happened and that we can't observe nowadays. And how it's a common misconception that evolution takes a very long time to happen. And while this is the case a lot of the time, this is not always the case as seen in this video. So it's extremely hard to see this, but the best way to find evolution in a more fast setting is by studying drastic environmental changes. Some of these changes nowadays that are most commonly like this are caused by us, unfortunately, from deforestation to other acts of destruction on local wildlife. So, uh, you can see this a lot in cities. So, specifically, he focused on how the urban setting causes animals to evolve. So, it's pretty amazing seeing this new habitat mixed with so many different species from the original inhabitants. Like, say there's like a duck in a pond, he lived there before humans came, and now humans are here, to animals we bring into the environment, like cats, dogs, and other such exotic wildlife like snakes. Like, as some of you may know, there's actually a problem with snakes in Florida, like boa constrictors, from escaping and becoming wild. So you can see a lot of animals like that, and specifically it's like a pressure cooker. It's basically like causing all these animals to adapt to a strange new environment because it's extremely difficult for plants to germinate in urban environments, and it's pretty difficult for some animals to find food in urban environments, so they turn to different lifestyle choices. So an example he talked about is one that his friend in the field, Jason Muncie South, was studying. So this is like a modern Darwin's Finches. You can actually go to New York and see. So in New York City, so these little parks, how there's different parks, there's like patches of greenery everywhere. There's a mouse called the white-footed mouse, and it lives in these parks. And each of these parks has different mice that are evolving different DNA sets. So you can take a mouse from Central Park, test its DNA, and see that while it may be identical and look to a mouse in, say, a different park, it has a completely different DNA pattern. So, one of these evolutionary things, actually specifically on the mouse in Central Park, is that it's actually evolving to be able to eat extremely fatty foods. So, the reason is behind this evolution is the fact that it's in Central Park. There's tourists everywhere. The food is mostly from us, just dropping food in the ground, in garbage cans everywhere and where else. And these mice are adapting to be able to eat a lot of this food so they can survive and thrive by surviving off of us. So it's not random, it's caused by the environment. So the environment is changing around them, and they change the environment. Another really fascinating example that he and his team actually found is with European garden snails. So they've actually studied how different garden snails have different shell colors. So these garden snails, if it's in a cooler climate, it will have darker shell colorings with browns and blacks. But in warmer, more you know hot environments, it'll have lighter, more yellowish, whitish colors. So they theorize that in cities, these snails will have lighter shells due to the fact that in cities there's something called the urban heat island effect. So basically, due to all the heat and machines and all the all the smoke and all the nasty stuff that we produce in the cities, all the heat is basically collected into a bubble around the center of the city. So this makes it hotter than surrounding areas. So his team theorized that snails in this area will have lighter shells compared to snails in the countryside and outside of it. So to test this theory, they actually made this app. So it allows people from all over the Netherlands to take photos of the snails and upload them, and also put the location and where they found it. So, say you found a snail in the middle of your backyard, it'll tell them, the scientists, about where it's at and what color and what the snail looks like, so giving them valuable data. So, within a year, they had 10,000 snail photos, which is a lot of snail photos. They must have been going crazy on Instagram. And they were photographed all around the Netherlands. So, this actually confirmed their theory that snail shells do lighten. These garden snails have lighter shells in city settings. So there's other evolutions they taught evolutionary paths he also mentioned during this video. So he talked about how weeds like dandelions and other such weeds have evolved, that their seeds have been made more able to germinate in pavement. You know how you'll see like a little sprigs of stuff in between the pavement cracks and all that. There's also grasshoppers that have evolved a song that's higher pitched near noisy traffic, so they could actually speak to their fellow grasshoppers and attract mates and such. And there's mosquitoes that specifically evolved to go to people in metro stations and feed specifically off those people. As well as, pigeons. Actually, this is really cool, I think. They're able to detox themselves by putting heavy metal from the different chemicals that surround cities due to the fact that we are polluting them in their feathers to get rid of it and help detox themselves. Another really cool thing is the fact that many are looking to these cities as a wealth of evolution and are allowing people like us, to go around the city and see it in real time. It's science in real time, which is always amazing. So it allows kids and young adults and everybody from all walks of life to see evolution not as something you need to go to Galapagos and go see Darwin's finches and all that fun stuff, which, while still awesome and still a great example, isn't exactly accessible to most people. It allows us to see how evolution affects our everyday life, seeing the animals we know and love, learning how to adapt to their strange new world that we've put them in, and how this new nature and ecosystem is changing as we go. Like, he also lamented slightly about how the fact that the old ecosystems and how, like, all these animals before humans came here have been damaged and hurt, but people nowadays are going to see animals that are a little light of hope. They will see the animals in the city and still see creatures around them, while not the same as his childhood, will still be strange and interesting animals. And this allows everybody to see the world and how we evolve. So a few questions I have about this specific TED Talk is, honestly, I just want to know more examples of some of these creatures. So where can I find more examples other than his book? Because he does have a book. He actually linked it into the TED Talk. As well as how do pigeons detox themselves with heavy metal? Like, how does this process work? Like, what's the physical process? Like, and is there other examples of specifically pigeons doing this kind of thing? Because I've heard of pigeons being pretty evolved to city environments before. And last but not least, is there like any sort of organizations that might be able to give me more uh more opportunity to study this in life? Is there like any organizations that are like, specifically for the like showing kids and families and stuff about urban evolution? Because I'm going into teaching and that might be something I want to look into. Like if they have any like specific like park cleanup type things, or like going around and like, that kind of thing. And seeing animals and such. And I believe that is all I have to say today. Thank you for watching and have a great day.